12th day of Mar Cheshvan, and we are continuing with the Agaritas at the top of Nun Hey Amud Aleph, which I think we might have named this wrong, but we will adjust that. And the Gemara is continuing with. Sorry, I lied. We got that right. I was on the wrong. Yeah, here we go. Nun Dalam base. That is correct. We're continuing with Nun Dalam base, where the Gemara told us the top of Nun Dalam base. Taner Rabban. We have a brisa that says as follows. This is one of those brises that is going to require a tremendous amount of Ian in Pnimis HaTorah and Chassidus and Kabbalah in order to understand what exactly is going on here. But at least we should learn it. And then Hashem will be Meir Einenu, that we'll be able to understand it better. Says the Brisa, Taner Rabbanan, Shiva Dvarim Mechusim Mi Bnei Adam. There are 7 things that are hidden from mankind. Elohim, these are they. Yom HaMisa, the day of death. Yom HaNechama, the day of comfort. Meaning, says Rashi, the day that Yisnachem Midag Asai, that you'll be comforted from your anxieties. Meaning that things will start to make sense. Va'omek hadin, and the depth of judgment. Rashi gives 2 approaches here. Ha-rov toimbai. Everybody gets confused about this. Inami, alternatively, omek hadin ha'osid, the din that is in the future, meaning either the din that is currently going on or the din that will be in the future. 2 options within that omek hadin. Ve'ein adam yodeh ma b'libo shel chavera, and it is hidden from a person that which is in the heart of his friend. Meaning anybody that says that they can tell you what another person is thinking is against the Gemara. Nobody is a man reader. And nobody knows how they are going to make a living. I mean, what's the thing that you're going to do that's going to make you wealthy? And nobody knows when David HaMelech's reign will return. And the Malchus Chayeves, Rashi says, is Yomi, is the kingdom, the empire of Rome. Nobody knows when the end of Rome will come. Now, clearly, the Roman Empire, as was around in the days of Chazal, had already collapsed by the days of Rashi, and this is where all the Rishonim point out that Malchus Rome continues into the world of Christianity. We don't know when that will be over. Taner Rabban in the Brisa says, there are 3 things that entered into Hashem's mind to create. And if they didn't enter Hashem's mind to create, he didn't consider them. It logically would have been that they would have arisen. Meaning, if Hashem didn't make them, they would have happened. Rashi says, because without them, the world wouldn't exist. Meaning, you need these things in order for the world to continue. What are these things that you need, that the world requires? These are challenging things. The first is al-hamesh sheyasriach, that dead people decompose. Rashi says, because if not for the fact that dead people decompose, people would keep their loved ones, the corpses around, because they wouldn't want to see them put into the ground, and that would prolong suffering to the point of debilitation. And the fact that people that have passed, we eventually forget them, meaning not that we forget them, but that the pain is diminished. That Chazal tell us, we know from Yaakov and Yosef, is a year. That's the period of time of Shicha. That's also the din of Parshas Achar. Val hatvua shetirokev, and that crops rot. Why is that so important? That crops should rot, so that people don't hoard as much produce as possible, and that way that ensures that the economy will still perpetuate. Because if everybody could just hoard stuff, then nobody would need to buy it. You'd buy at one point in time, and then you'd be able to keep it forever. That would be terrible. The world would cease to exist. There are those that say, Al hamadbea sheyetze, on the coin that goes out, meaning that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created this idea, and if not for this idea of monetary value, the world wouldn't be able to exist. It's something that is necessary, that things have monetary value and that people spend them, that people spend money, that is part and parcel of the existence of the world. Says the Mishnah as follows. Next Mishnah, Nun Dalal Amud Beis, in the middle of the page. A place that they have the minhag of doing malacha on Tisha B'Av. You are allowed to do malacha on Tisha B'Av. Places that they have the minhag not to do malacha on Tisha B'Av. In osim, one may not go to work of a chol makam. And no matter where you are, Talmidei Chacham do not go to work on Tisha B'Av. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says, "La'olam ya'aseh adam atzmei Talmid Chacham." A person should always make themselves into a Talmid Chacham. Means that everybody has the right to say, "I'm not going to work." And what would be the concern is that Rashi says here, the Mechsek Yura. It looks like you're holding yourself as a Talmid Chacham. There is no isur for a person to not work on Tisha B'Av by holding themselves as a Talmid Chacham. Rashi says, it doesn't look like you are being too haughty. You are allowed to not work on Tisha B'Av. As we pointed out, not working is not necessarily a dead giveaway that you are or are not intentionally not working. Sometimes people just don't work. Says the Gemara as follows. Amar Shmuel says, that there is no Tainus Tzibur in Bavel except for Tisha B'Av. The only Tainus Tzibur that exists is no public fast day except for Tisha B'Av. Now, what's the rationale for this? Because a Tainus Tzibur was because of Geshamim, because of rain. In Eretz Yisrael, they would declare, if there was no rain, they would declare rain, fast for rain, and that was called a Tainus Tzibur. Rashi says, and if they would make a Tainus Tzibur for something else, it doesn't have all of the chumras of a Tainus Tzibur, which include to forbid you from eating from the previous day, meaning that it's a 24-hour fast, and to prohibit you from doing malacha, and all of the other chumras that are listed there in the Mishnah at the end of Maseches Tainus. Says the Gemara, Lemeimar, does that mean to say the Savar Shmuel Tisha B'Av Ben Hashmashas Shalai Aser, that Shmuel holds that we take this as a 25-hour fast, meaning including the Ben Hashmashas beforehand, that we start from sunset the night before, with regards to Tisha B'Av, which of course is how we practice. V'ha Amar Shmuel, didn't Shmuel say Tisha B'Av Ben Hashmashas Shalai Mutar? Tisha B'Av Ben Hashmashas, between sunset and nightfall, one is allowed to do malacha. You're allowed to. Says the Gemara, maybe you want to say because our Shmuel called Tainus Tzibur ben Hashmashas Shalai Mutar. According to Shmuel, all of the Tainus Tzibur ben Hashmashas are mutar. That din of ben Hashmashas is not a din that applies to any Tainus Tzibur. How anan tanan didn't we learn in the Mishnah? One must finish and eating and drinking while it is still daytime. To exclude what? Does that not exclude ben hashmashas, the twilight period from sunset until nightfall? It sounds like the Mishnah is telling us exactly that din, that you have to start Tisha B'Av before sunset. So says the Gemara, that tells you that you need to finish eating before it gets dark. That means while it's still at least Suffolk daytime, but we're not going to make a Tainus Tzibur that begins before sunset. Says the Gemara, maybe this supports this a din that supports this interpretation of Shmuel. There is no difference between Tisha B'Av and Yom Kippurim. That with regards to Yom Kippur, it's Suffolk is Aser, and with regards to Ben Hashmashas, it's Safek, it's doubt, is Mutter. So my Sfeikoi Mutter, so what exactly is the Safek that would be permissible? Lav Ben Hashmashas, is that not Ben Hashmashas? Meaning, when the Brisa says that Tisha B'Av, its Safek is Mutter, Safek Yom, Safek Laila, that means Ben Hashmashas. That's the Safek of Yom Kippur. Says the Gemara, no. The Amar of Shesha said, he was the son of Ravidi. Says no, we're talking about questions about what day it falls out on. Meaning, if you're not sure with regards to what day Yom Kippur is and what day Tisha B'Av is, so there's a different din. Hachanami, he had to also Likvia Diyarcha. It's got to do with the days that the fast day is going to fall out on. Rashi says, Lasa Shnei Yomim. Ki Misavkalon im Avru based in Chodesh Avru Oilai. Says the Gemara, if you are not sure when Yom Kippur is, you would have to fast for 2 days. That would be a din da'araisa. But if you are not sure when Tisha B'Av is, because you're not sure, was Tammuz a 29-day month or a 30-day month, you're not sure if today is Tisha B'Av or tomorrow is Tisha B'Av, then you don't need to keep both days as Tisha B'Av. You get to pick a day, you get to pick a day because Safek Derabanan Lekula. Says the Gemara, Dirshu Rava says, Ubrus Umenika is misanas meshlimas by pregnant women and nursing women misanas. They fast umashlimas by and they complete the fast. Meaning not just that they start fasting, but they are obligated to complete it. The same way that they are obligated to fast and to complete the fast of Yom Kippur. Ubein hashmashas, and with regards to ben hashmashas, shalai aser, and twilight for Tisha B'Av, meaning from sunset to nightfall, is aser. One is not allowed to eat during that period of time. Says the Gemara, and so they said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. And this seems to be against what Shmuel had told us. Umi Amar Rabbi Yochanan, is it really true that Rabbi Yochanan said so? V'hamar Rabbi Yochanan, didn't Rabbi Yochanan tell us Tisha B'Av ain't a Kedanis Tzibur? Tisha B'Av is not like a Kedanis Tzibur. My love leben hashmashas does that not mean that it is true with regards to ben hashmashas. Says Rashi, but Maseches brachas de'ein tefillah say mishum bracha levatala. You don't make additional tefillahs. Sorry, that's the wrong Rabbi Yochanan. We'll get to that Rabbi Yochanan in a few minutes. Rabbi Yochanan says that it's not like a Tanis Sibur. Tisha B'Av is not like a Tanis Sibur. So we say, how's it not like a Tanis Sibur? With regards to Ben Hashmashas. So says the Gemara, no. That is talking about with regards to Malacha on the fast day itself. Not with regards to eating and drinking and Ben Hashmashas, but with regards to Malacha. On a regular Tanis Sibur, everybody was asked to do malacha, but on Tisha B'Av, not everybody is asked from doing malacha. Says the Gemara, but malacha tanena. We know the din of malacha. Makim Shenagala says malacha b'Tisha B'Av osim. Makim Shenagala Shalala says ain't osim. We know the din is that places where they have the minhag to do malacha, you do it, and places that don't have the minhag, you don't do it. And even Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel that said everybody should think of themselves as a Talmid Chacham. What did he say? It means that when you are sitting around and not working, it doesn't look like you're being boastful. But nobody ever said that it's osur to do malacha on Tisha B'Av. What does it mean that it's not like a Tanis Tzibur? With regards to saying Ne'ilah. Now, we only have the practice of saying Ne'ilah on Yom Kippurim, but the Gemaras in the Mishnayos at the end of Maseches Tanis describe that Tfilas Ne'ilah was really a tefillah that they added for public fast days, not just Yom Kippur. And what we are saying here is that you do not institute Ne'ilah on Tisha B'Av. Rabbi Yochanan tell us, if only a person could daven all day. That meaning, what's wrong with adding an additional tefillah? There's nothing wrong with adding more tefillahs. Says the Gemara, Maseches brachas, he says that if you daven an additional tefillah, that's not called a bracha levatala because you are allowed to daven to Hashem all day. You can ask as long as the halacha is, so long as you add in additional things that you want to ask for. There's nothing wrong with adding tefillas ne'ilah to any day that you have a Tanis Tzibur or Tisha B'Av. Why not? So you say, no, Hasam Chayva. On a Tanis Tzibur, there's a chiyuv. You have to daven ne'ilah. Hacha Rishus. But on Tisha B'Av, a person could daven ne'ilah if they wanted to. And alternatively, you could read it as follows: Ma in a Tanis Tzibur. In what way is it not like a Tanis Tzibur? Le'esrim v'arba, for the 24 brachas that they would add in to the Shemana Esrei. We only have Anenu today in our public fast days, but in the days of the Tanaim, they had 24 brachas that they added to the Shemana Esrei, as well as Slichus and the Levush Ratzon or Soloveitchikov, and spoke about this, that our slichas patented after that structure that they would have on public fast days. Says the Gemara, Rav Papa says, "My ena ketana sibur." What does it mean that Tisha B'av is not like a public fast day? So we say ena kirishonis. It's not like the early fast days, meaning they would start having fast days to daven for rain, and then if it didn't happen, if it didn't start raining, then they would increase the severity of the fast. So the ena kirishonis ela ke'achronis v'asur. It's like the final fast days of the season until you make it rain, and those are called the achronis. So the Mishnah tells us in Maseches Tainis that that in times of drought there were public fast days. They would make 3 fast days that began in the morning. They went 12-hour fasts. If the drought would continue, it still didn't rain, they had another 3 fast days. And these were 24-hour fasts. So that's how we say that Tisha B'av is not like the early fast days of the season. It's like the late ones. Mesive. Now we're going to have a contradiction here. Ein bein Tisha B'av liYom Kippur. We've been discussing the difference between Tisha B'av and other public fast days. And now we're going to discuss the difference between Tisha B'av and Yom Kippur. And we're going to see that Tisha B'av is kind of in between public fast days and Yom Kippur. Mesive. Ein bein Tisha B'av Yom Kippurim ela shezeh sveika also v'zeh sveika muter. Yom Kippur is just like Tisha B'av. Tisha B'av is just like Yom Kippur, except with regards to sveikas. That this one the suffix is also Yom Kippur. The suffix is also v'zeh sveika muter. So we explained before that this is talking about kfis the Yarchas, when you don't know, you have a doubt what day of the month or what day of the week is that day of the month. Masveika muter. What does the suffix muter mean? Lav ben hashmashas. Is that not talking about ben hashmashas? We already discussed this. Says Gemara, Amar Rav Shesha, quoting from what we just said. Amar Rav Shesha bereder Rav Idi lekviasa diyarcha. It's not talking about ben hashmashas. It's talking about the day of knowing what day of the month. So we say ha lechol dvarim zevazeh shav. What does that mean? When you say there is nothing different between Yom Kippur and Tisha B'av except for a case of suffix, it sounds like, well, there's nothing different except for this, which means l'chol dvarim zevazeh shavin, that they are equivalent to every other matter. Says the Gemara, Misale Rabbi Elazar, the Amar Rabbi Elazar. This makes good sense according to Rabbi Elazar. Rabbi Elazar told us, also lo la'adam sheyoshid etzba'o b'mayim Tisha B'av. The halacha is that you're not allowed to stick your pinky finger into water on Tisha B'av because it's also to bathe on Tisha B'av. The same way that it's also to bathe in Yom Kippur. Mesive. Hold on a second. Ein bein Tisha B'av le'tainas sibur. We said that there's nothing between Tisha B'av and tainas sibur. El shezeh also ba'asiyas malacha v'zeh muter ba'asiyas malacha. On a public fast day, you're not allowed to do malacha, and on Tisha B'av, you are allowed to do malacha. So now we have a problem. So we say halachol dvarim zevazeh shavin. That sounds like Tisha B'av and tainas sibur are exactly the same with regards to everything else. V'ilu gabe tainas sibur tanya. With regards to tainas sibur, we said when we said that it's forbidden for you to bathe, we only prohibited you from bathing your entire body. But your hands, face, and feet, you are allowed to wash on a regular tainas sibur, just not on Yom Kippur. So we have not on Tisha B'av, which means we have one brisa that tells us that Tisha B'av is exactly like Yom Kippur, and another brisa that says that Tisha B'av is exactly like a tainas sibur, which means that the Venn diagram now has a gap in the middle, because we don't have a day that is exactly like Tisha B'av, that's exactly like a tainas sibur with regards to bathing, and exactly like Yom Kippur with regards to we don't have a day, meaning Tisha B'av now falls out of both, because it has to be exactly like Yom Kippur with regards to bathing, and it needs to be exactly like a tainas sibur with regards to bathing, and those two things have different dinim. So now, how are you going to resolve this? Says the Gemara, Amar Papa says, turning over the page, Tana kule kule kitani. It's not exact. When we say ein bein, it doesn't mean that there's nothing between them. It means with regards to the leniencies. And Rashi here points out, Tana kule nakat, or Tani, kol hani ein bein chad Tana amrisu, v'kule nakat, bereisha. Tana ein ben Tisha B'Av kal miyom kippurim lechatchila ela shezeh sveika, etc. So he says, when we're listing out the leniencies in the series of ein bains, what we are saying is there's no difference. The same Tana is teaching this. It's not a machloikes Tanaim. There's no difference between Tisha B'Av and Yom Kippur with regards to this kula. There's no difference between Tana Tzibur and Tisha B'Av except for this kula. It doesn't mean that there is nothing absolutely between them. We are just listing out the leniencies that would apply by comparing Tisha B'Av to each of these days. And Be'ez Hashem Yisbarach, we will continue with Daf Nun Hey Amud Aleph. Continuing tomorrow morning, back to, please God, our regular schedule. All things going well. Everybody should have a wonderful day and a wonderful evening.